Video.
Yup. Church intro video. This is where you talk.
Yes, this is where I talk. I talk. I talk a lot. But
Sometimes.
sometimes I talk a lot. That is not. Somehow I forgot how to use my audio recording thing. I was like, I'm over here trying to set up the session, and I'm like, does anybody remember how to use this thing?
That's funny.
Yeah, so last week I was rather unsatisfied with my audio quality. I had the microphone, like way up out of view, because I go back and forth on what I want. And it was way out of view, and then the audio quality, I could hear that the microphone was far away from my face.
Okay.
And I don't like that. So
So now you've put it back.
now it's right here in the corner of the screen. Rocking. Yeah.
Nice.
And then over here, over top of your head, behind the Ecclesian House thing, when it comes on, those who are with us live will be able to see my Game & Watch Nintendo Legend of Zelda thing that I got for Christmas.
Nice.
It's the only thing I really asked for. It's got three Zelda games, and then this weird game called Vermin that I've never heard of before.
Okay.
Kind of like Whack-A-Mole, but all you do is move your little guy left or right, and he whacks the moles as they come up, but you have to be standing in the right spot, and they come up faster and faster and faster. So I guess technically it's 4 games, because it's Legend of Zelda, and then you can change your name to Zelda to get, the underworld version of Zelda, and of Legend of Zelda, and then it's Link's Adventure, and then Legend of Zelda 3.
Nice.
So technically 4 Zelda games, but
Nice.
yeah.
I'm wearing one of my 2 Christmas presents from my wife.
What is that a picture of?
It is the main demon for Diablo 4, Lilith. I think it's Lilith. I think that's what they said. But, minute and a half. So, yeah. And then I have a Witcher one. Because I like The Witcher. The books and the show, not the game. I've never played the game. Which is really odd.
I've only seen the first season of the show, but I'm definitely a fan of the first season. So I'm assuming I'll be a fan of the second season, but who knows?
Yeah. It's interesting, and that's all I'll say. I liked it. I liked it a lot. But the plot lines are interesting.
Well, the plot lines are always interesting when you're talking about The Witcher. I mean, the first season had you jumping all over the place, like, when did this happen? When did that happen? And it wasn't until almost the very end that you were able to piece it all back together and go, now I understand the timeline. Okay.
Well,
It's quite the wild ride.
It's because it was written as a series of short stories as opposed to 15 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, so.
As opposed to 15 seconds?
Yep. And then 5.
4, 2. Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 59 of the Berean Manifesto. Faith, hope, and love for the modern Christian. I'm Pastor Bill, and I am joined by my co-host, Pastor Nooms, who's feeling a little under the weather this evening. His body is fighting something off. Thank goodness for immune systems to fight things off.
Oh no, I know exactly what it was. I overate, and so it gave me an upset tummy. That's it. Just ate way too much food.
Oh, so you're not sick. You made yourself sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you were talking about it having eaten too much, but I was under the impression that
No.
you were already feeling bad when you then made the bad decision to overeat.
No.
You're saying it's
100%
all your fault.
all my
you
fault.
Did it to yourself.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
All right. Well, there's that.
Yeah.
Which
I did last year.
Yeah.
If you remember. So.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I
did.
We got Biggs joining us in our Ecclesian House Discord server tonight instead of on Twitch. So that's fun. And then we've got Phoenix is here on Twitch. Why are you making a face, Nooms? Did you not know he was on the Discord server instead of on Twitch?
No, I did. We talked about it above.
Yeah.
So I knew.
I missed that when I was doing other things.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Okay.
No, that was not what that face was for.
All right. So we record these episodes live every Sunday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you're hearing this or you've come across this video on one of the platforms that we share the video to, and we'd like to invite you to come join us live. You can see us going live on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, and then you can, through the power of typing chat room technology, join us live. If you have something to say, you want to disagree with us, or you want to agree with us, or you want to add something to the conversation, you are more than welcome to do that. You don't have to. You can just simply show up and say, hey, I'm here live, and offer moral support. We have people that do that just show up just to show, moral support that they're here, which is perfectly fine. Or you could do what Biggs does and judge us harshly and throw up random things like just a second ago he typed in scalloped potatoes.
That's not random.
He's probably responding to Nooms talking about overeating.
Exactly what I overate on. And so
because of there's a delay between what is actually happening live in our conversation, and then by the time it gets to you and then you type it in and it comes back to us, there's this little lag, so it sometimes it can feel a little random when people post things. We got Zadie joining us on Twitch. She's one of our regulars that joins us. We're glad that Zadie's here. Zadie's also on our board of directors for the church. That's fun. And Nooms is on the board, and I'm on the board, and my wife's on the board. And you know what? If you want to know who else is on the board, you can go to ekk.house/team. Yep. And there's some lovely pictures of us up there that were some of them taken in
the future
2007. One of them is set to be taken in 2067, I think, is when that picture is set to be taken. It's the one of Pastor Nooms. I had forgotten that I had left that picture up there until last week when we were talking about it. But it is quite hilarious. You should go see old Nooms.
Yep.
He looks like if his dad got really old. That's what the picture looks like. And I know you don't know what his dad looks like, but I do. I know what his dad looks like, and it looks like a very old and tired Biggs.
Yep, it's because that's why we call him Biggs, is because he's just a bigger version of me. Because I wasn't going to be called Smalls. That's
You weren't going to be called. You're killing me, Smalls. You'd have to put up with that your whole life. Your whole life you'd have to put up with. You're killing me, Smalls.
And I hate that movie.
All right. So other than overeating today, how was your week, Pastor Nooms?
It was good. It was good. Let's see. I had a short week at work. We of course had Christmas. Christmas was good. We spent a bunch of time over at Biggs and Grandma Gloria's house and hung out there, both Friday and Saturday. So that was good. Um, Phoenix is still over there, um, which is why they're on the big TV there. Um, and we had a birthday party today for one of the kids' friends down the street, and that was good. And so, other than waking up at 2 a.m. to 4:30 sick, every week was great. You know, next week should be good because I only have to work 3 days, so we'll see.
We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. My
How
week
was your week?
busy.
Mm-hmm.
And really got nothing accomplished. Had Christmas at my mom's and Christmas at my wife's mom's and Christmas at my grandmother's and Christmas here and yeah, so it was getting going and getting going and getting going kind of week. And since I cut off our beginning conversation in the very beginning of the conversation when that music is playing, for those of you on the podcast, I got the one thing that I asked for Christmas from my mother. It's a Nintendo Game and Watch, The Legends of Zelda one. They had released a Super Mario one for the anniversary, and I was like, I didn't really want that. And then they announced they were gonna come out with a Legend of Zelda one, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna ask for that.
Mm.
And so I told my mother I want this, and I sent her a picture and a link, and I sent her all this stuff. And then she took the picture and went into some store and said, "My son said he wants this," and showed the picture.
It's
like,
effective.
I sent you a link where you could order it and everything. That's fine. Whatever method you wanted to use is fine. Yeah,
Hey,
that's
it
effective.
works.
So it works. It works. So yeah, so pretty good week. Just busy. And Gerg had school on Monday and Tuesday, but then Wednesday started his Christmas break. So I have not had to get up first thing in the morning, at 6:30. I know some people don't think that sounds early, but for my body, that has become early. I don't have to get up at 6:30 in the morning every morning to take him to school until the day after my birthday. The day after my birthday, I'll have to start getting up again. So
your birthday's coming up?
My birthday is coming up, and it's going to be on a Sunday.
And you're 49 and a half, right?
I am turning 40.
Oh, so old. So old.
40th birthday.
So old.
It's a milestone.
Old.
I'm already old.
That's the new goal for tonight, guys. We're going to see how many times Pastor Nooms can say the word old in different ways without Pastor Bill yelling at him. So here we go.
That's funny. I'm not old, you're old. All right. So that's how our weeks were. Tonight we're going to be talking, we are going to do the getting to know the pastors, so don't worry.
I was terrified.
But tonight, we've had Christmas, and we're currently in Advent. Oh, don't get shocked. I know a lot of you use Advent to count down to the beginning of Christmas. You've got your Advent calendars, and you pull out your candy or your Star Wars toys or I saw a Borg Collective one that was a big cube that, panels open up. That one was pretty cool. That's used to count down to the start of Christmas, but that's not actually what Advent is. So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But today is the second day of Advent. Happy second day of Christmas to you, sir. Whereas yesterday was the first day of Christmas, the 25th of December, and then there are 12 days of Christmas that lead all the way up to January 5th, and then on January 6th is the Epiphany, or in some countries they call it Three Kings Day. Also, to those of our viewers in Canada, though you may be few. Happy Boxing Day. Just wanted to get that in there. So I don't know what it means, but I know I'm supposed to say that.
So Boxing Day is actually a day that the masters of the houses would give to the servants in a wooden box their kind of Christmas present. Um, it would be something they would use throughout the year, um, but it would come in a wooden box, and then they actually would give the box back to the master of the house. So it's actually to give servants gifts as opposed to family and friends.
But they don't get to keep the box.
They don't keep the box. The box is reused over and over again.
Well, what kind of thing do you put in the box? Like,
So,
you clean floors. Here's a scrub brush.
um, you're a maid. Here's a spool of fabric so you can make yourself a new dress. Here's a, you know, things like that. One of the guys on TikTok um, said something. He pretends to be an old person, like olden day person, and he opened his box and it was a handkerchief because he always wears a handkerchief. So it's something they can use, but it's not like gifty. It's something they can use, not just a thing. So it kind of would depend on your job and how close you were to the person giving it to you as far as employment goes. And that's their second day of, I think,
And
a
this is all
3-day
countries
Christmas.
that recognize the queen still as
Yep.
their queen, right?
Yep.
I'm sorry, all of you queen followers. I don't understand it. Doesn't make sense to my brain why this is something that you celebrate.
Nowadays,
It
it's just
sounds
a
kind
shopping
of
day.
slavey to me.
It was actually for
So,
servants, not slaves, but I mean, potato in certain areas.
potato at this point, yeah.
Um, the yeah, things like socks.
No, Biggs, you never give your house elf socks.
No, not house elves.
Any kind of clothing.
No,
They
no,
will leave.
no,
It
no.
will be free.
This
Run
isn't
away.
this isn't the Wizarding World.
That's not the same thing?
No, no. They don't get presents on Boxing Day.
House elves don't get
No,
Boxing Day?
they don't get they don't even get Boxing Day gifts.
I bet they do. I bet they get Boxing Day. Their master puts on some boxing gloves and is like,
Okay,
some Boxing Day.
tired now.
All right. Time for getting to know the pastors.
That was so
What
mean
do
of
you
me.
value most in your friends?
Let's start with you, Pastor Bill, because you say it all the time, so might as well say it.
I say it all the time.
You do.
I value making me a better husband, a better father, and a better Christian. If you don't fit this category, then I don't have time for you. That's what I value in my friends.
Yep.
What Nooms values in his friends is thick skin and preferably a rotund visage.
No, that's just the requirement for my closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the main group of friends, you can be skinny, but the I don't know why, but both my best friends are rotund, as
Quite rotund.
Bill says. So.
And getting rotunder.
Um,
Rotunder's not a word, I don't think.
I don't think it is, but that's okay.
So you gonna answer the question?
I mean, the
When your love language is hate, You
Well, I'm
have
not
to
arguing
value
with
people with a
yours.
thick skin.
I'm not arguing with yours. First off,
That's
not
actually what I
denying
said.
those. I'm, I think it's really different with every one of my relationships as to what I value that person for. Each of my relationships are very different. Um, so I can't give really I know with almost everything in every week that's my answer is I don't have a concrete answer.
I don't have an answer for this one.
But
I don't have an answer for this one.
that's how it is today.
All right. So Christmas Day has come and gone.
Mm-hmm.
And people that spam our Twitch get banned. And
Make me sit up. How dare they?
yeah, how dare they make you sit up and do something? You're supposed to be able to sit back and talk. You did all your work setting up all this computer stuff so we could go live.
Ridiculous.
So ridiculous. All right. So the first day of Christmas has come and gone is really what we should say. And you know the song that on the first day of Christmas and the 12 days of Christmas. This is what this is talking about. There are 12 days of Christmas, and it's also known as Advent. It's the time where we're counting down to the epiphany of Christ to the secular world, right? So when we go and we read in Luke 2, where the shepherds are in the field and the angels appear to them and they say, don't be afraid, because, you know, if you've read the book of Ezekiel, then you know why angels have to say, don't be afraid, because either they've got multiple faces, some of which are an eagle, a lion, a human face, or they're this wheel in a wheel with bunches of eyes and multiple sets of wings that have eyes all over them. So yeah, of course, angels have to say, don't be afraid when they show up, because that's some freaky stuff right there. So they show up and they tell them, don't be afraid. We bring glad tidings of great joy. For among you is born, yada, yada, yada. Now, forgive me my skepticism on what the angels said, but some of the vernacular that we've attributed to the angels in the accounts and the gospel accounts are very Christianized language that Jewish shepherds in a field probably wouldn't have understood. And I'm not saying that we've changed the meaning of what the angel said, but I believe we've changed the language there to fit what we understand, the concepts of what they said, not specifically what the angel said, but that's neither here nor there. They tell the shepherds to get up. The shepherds, they go and they find Mary, Joseph, the baby Jesus, lying in a manger. And there's been debate over the years on this whole inn issue. It's most likely that they weren't actually talking about an inn like a motel or like a roadside, Holiday Inn. They weren't talking about that kind of a thing. They were more likely talking about they went and needed to stay with family for this whole census thing to prepare for taxation. And there was no more room in any of those families' inns in the part of the home where they would sleep. So they had to go down either out into the courtyard where they had hewn a manger out of rock, a kind of a cave sort of setup, or it was a 2-story dwelling where the inn would be upstairs and the manger would be actually downstairs in the downstairs portion of the house. And we don't know which it was. Were they out, in the cave, out in the courtyard? Were they downstairs in the house? We really don't know. What we do know for sure is this whole idea of renting a room in an inn setup, like Holiday Inn, Motel 6. That's not how things were ran back then. You could go get a room above someone else's home, or above a bar, or things like this, but they weren't really known as inns, and they weren't really the kind of place you would take a pregnant woman, especially not in the ghetto, which is, not what Bethlehem is, but it's what Nazareth was. And so that's where they came from. And when you're coming from the ghetto, you don't exactly think, oh, the place above the bar there must be clean and safe. Because it's not where they just came from. That wouldn't be clean and safe. So anyway, so there's that. And that is the revealing of Christ to the Jews, that event in Luke 2. And then we actually have to fast forward some time there to get to the wise men, the Magi, which is a Hebrew word that was applied to Zoroastrians. The Zoroastrian people who followed the religion of Zoroaster, Zoroastrianism, started by Zoroaster. These are the people that the men of the time would call Magi. That was a word that was given to the Zoroastrians. So these Zoroastrians show up, and according to the prophecies in Isaiah, they were a large group of people. Camels covered the countryside. There were, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of these people. And when they showed up, they had been following a star in the sky. Now, we saw this star in Luke 2 when the angels showed up to the shepherds and revealed themselves, and the heavens showed a sign that the Savior had been born. So the Magi followed that star, and they go and they talk to Herod, and Herod asks them, well, how long have you been following that star? And they tell him 2 years. So for 2 years, they've been following this star that showed up when Jesus was born. So then they go out and they find Jesus and they present him with the gifts, and then they're warned to go back to home a different way, and they sneak out, and Herod finds out he's been bamboozled, and Joseph has a dream to flee because Herod's going to try to kill the baby, because let's be honest, Herod was crazy.
Yeah. Certifiably
crazy. So then they head to Egypt.
Most historians believe that was one of his last acts, because at that moment everyone was like, okay, yeah, you're done.
Yeah. And there's no historical record of them killing all the babies 2 and under at that time, because I believe he gave the order and his servants went, yeah, no. Now we're just going to tell him we did that, and we're not actually going to do it, because crazy. But I don't think that was the threat that the angel was warning him of. I think Herod was going to keep coming after the kid. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Herod thinks he's, pinned it in the butt. He thinks he's taking care of it. So they leave. They go to Egypt. Okay. All right. They're in Egypt for a while, and people are like, we don't know how long they were in Egypt. We don't know how long they were in Egypt. That's the, Okay. So Herod then dies, right? And an angel tells Joseph, all right, you can go back. Well, Herod died sometime between 4 and 6 BC. For those of you following along at home, that's 4 to 6 years before we switched to this whole new calendar system because somebody thought Jesus was born and that's when we should start year one. And they were wrong, very wrong. And so Herod dies between 4 and 6 BC, and they come back. Well, Jesus was already 2 when they left, so we know he's older than 2. And so, yeah, we don't know how long they were in Egypt, but by the time Jesus is 12, they've come back home, right? So, so they're there sometime between, 2 to 10 years, maybe, is how long they're, or 2 to 8 years is how long they're in Egypt, meaning Jesus was born probably 8 to 10 BC, somewhere around in there, 8 to 10 years before the beginning of the new calendar. And then we know historically, thanks to Josephus and things like this, that Christ was crucified in 32 AD, meaning Christ wasn't 32 when he was crucified. He was somewhere between 40 and 42, given that the calendar was off. But that's neither here nor there either. So right now we're in Advent. We're counting down the days to when Christ is revealed to the Gentiles. And that event is the Epiphany, when the Magi, who represent all of us who weren't born as Jews. Now, Biggs is on Twitch and saying that they had to have been in Egypt for 10 years if they left when he was 2, because you're making a correlation between the event where Jesus is 12 and they leave him in Jerusalem and he spends 3 days in the temple, but there's no actual scriptural correlation that says that they came back at the same time as that event. They could have come back at any point before that. Unless you know of some scripture that I'm forgetting, and I would love to bring that up. So if you know of a scripture that says that the event when he was 12 is when they came back, that would be awesome. I'd like to fix the timeline in my brain there. But the point is, the Magi came to represent us when Jesus was 2. And so we have this thing of the Epiphany that the early church celebrated, that was celebrated for, on and on and on and on. And when they decided to, when the Catholic leadership decided to co-opt Yule and Saturnalia and all of these things, people were celebrating Epiphany already. And they kind of, Saturnalia was the 25th. Yule was the 23rd?
Maybe.
22nd or 23rd, somewhere around there. And they kind of split the difference and said, okay, well, we're gonna slam all this together on the 25th and say that's the day Jesus was born, even though it was celebrated by the early church at the beginning of April. Around the beginning of April. And I can't say April 1st because April 1st is based off of the solar calendar, and the early church used the Jewish calendar, which is a lunar calendar, and it would kind of float, and it wouldn't necessarily fall on April 1st, but they celebrated the birth of Christ around the new year, which was the beginning of April. Now we have our new year at the beginning of January, and we celebrate, the birth of Christ right before January. But it wasn't always the case. And so I would like to see an uptick in people celebrating Epiphany myself. It's a day to celebrate that Jesus didn't just come for the Jews, he also came for the Gentiles.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I am. That is what Nooms is. That's what most of the world is. Most of the world
Yep.
does not have the blood of Abraham running through their veins, which makes us Gentiles. Which is also an interesting point, that having the blood of Abraham flowing through your veins makes you a Jew, meaning the Islamic people that can trace their heritage back to Ishmael are also Jews.
I thought it had to be the blood of Israel, not the blood of Abraham.
You mean Jacob, who was a direct descendant of Abraham?
Right, but I thought that was the specific because of that.
Because Jacob wrestled with God?
No, just
and got the name Israel?
Because those are the 12 tribes. And they come from that, not Abraham, because Abraham had 2 sons.
But they only consider themselves blessed by God because of Abraham.
Okay.
That's an interesting question, though.
I've always looked at it as Judah because of the tribes and that aspect. They trace it back to there. They call him the God of Abraham on multiple occasions.
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yeah. So.
And the Islamics say the God of Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yeah. So.
Which Abraham would approve.
I mean, yeah.
God even says to Abraham, I know your heart is for your son Ishmael, and I will not forget him.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting statement.
Yeah, they're both blessed, just differently.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Okay.
And there are some scholars that believe that they were only in Egypt for weeks, possibly months, not even years, due to the fact that, the time, the way the verbiage is of after he had died, the angel went to him, but that doesn't mean that after isn't the moment Harold died, but there are some people who believe it was the moment, and that wasn't long after the proclamation, because that was one of the nails in his coffin that told everyone, no, he really is off his rocker. He's got to go. So.
But he died of natural causes. He wasn't killed.
Sure.
Which is interesting, because in such a tumultuous region, it was normal. I mean, that's how he got the position and the name even. He quelled an uprising for the Romans of a leader that the Romans had put in place to do the job that then Herod took. He killed their leader, and that's how he got the name Herod and got his position. So
funny thing, they didn't have toxicology reports back then.
This is true.
So, I mean,
this is very true. He could have been poisoned. You're right.
There's a lot of people who died of natural causes back in the day that there's a lot of questions about. Like, that's some interesting timing right there. Okay, cool. But no, I do agree. I think it's really important that we look at Epiphany typically in our house we do not take down Christmas stuff until Epiphany,
Hmm.
um, because
Either on or after is
yeah,
fine.
um, because to me that's the reason I exchange gifts and stuff is because of that, not
Because
necessarily.
of what happened at the Epiphany.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not. Um,
That's why I exchange gifts too. I'm remembering the um, the gifts that the Magi gave to Christ
mm-hmm,
to commemorate that the Savior came not just for the Jews, but also for the Gentiles, which is me. Um, and you know, it, we live in an interesting time, um, theologically, religiously speaking, a very interesting time with so many people deconstructing their faith and so many people leaving the evangelical church. And it's interesting to hear um, the perspective of atheists and those who have deconstructed and decided that they, in their words, no longer believe. If you've been with Breed Manifesto for any time, you know how I feel about the statement of no longer
mm-hmm,
believe. Um, uh, and the sentiment that I see a lot from atheists and deconstructionists that have decided to part ways with their faith is this viewpoint of sin as um, well, that was just a controlling mechanism. That was fake. That was false. There's no such thing as sin. Um, whereas Paul is very clear that we are slaves to sin at birth,
mm-hmm.
not guilty of committing sin at birth, slaves to sin. And so um, there is this narrative that we've been taught and told and been drilled into our heads over and over and over and over again that you know you're just a sinner saved by grace, um, and that's not biblically true. What's true is you are a slave set free by grace. And the Bible says it over and over again. It is for freedom that Christ set us free. And we try to talk about that as much as we can on the Breed Manifesto that sin is imperfection. And what Christ did on the cross finished the law and set us free from slavery to sin. So now you are free. And at the same time, there is sin that has very real in your life consequences that will mess you up and leave you hurting on the side of the road, beaten and abandoned and poor and lost. And that's the sin we need to focus on taking care of, right? The sin that does take you enslave you, and the sin that does leave you hurting and broken. That's the sin we need to focus on. And I'm I feel responsible as a Christian, as a believer, for this narrative that's hurt so many people. Um, I've never really preached it, or I'm not even responsible for it. Um, but I'm so sorry to everyone that's been hurt by this theology of you're worthless and you're a sinner and you've offended God, when the truth is you're a victim of someone else's actions. And Jesus came to set you free from the slavery that you found yourself in. I was thinking the other day about, I can't think of one instance where someone was in slavery where it was 100% their fault, where they weren't a victim of something. So why would Paul choose that term, slavery, slaves, if he didn't mean to communicate victims? That we're victims that Christ came to save. And that is what the Epiphany is all about. I was born a slave to sin, a slave to the world, a slave to fleshly lusts and desires for things that literally will hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
And Christ came to set me free. Not to say I should partake in the things that the law taught me were sin. No. Not to say that I can't partake in the things that the law said were sin. Not that either. But to say that I am free to do either one. And to understand that just because I'm free to do whatever I want doesn't mean whatever I want is good for me. Because everything has a cost, everything has a price, and you have to decide what you're willing to pay. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Smoking has a cost. Drinking has a cost. Drugs has a cost. Sex with multiple partners has a cost. Sex with a single partner has a cost. Now, you can do things to try to, skirt that cost and try not to have the consequences of those actions. And that's your decision to make. I mean, but certain things have cost. They have consequences.
Yep.
So yeah, there you go. Bright and cheery Advent.
Christmas. Yep.
Happy second day of Christmas. Counting down to Epiphany. What does the calendar look like for the rest of the year? When is our next live recording? Oh, good. It falls on the 2nd of January.
Mm-hmm. It's your birthday.
No, my birthday is the 9th of January.
No, it's the 2nd.
My birthday is very much not the 2nd of January.
Oh, okay. Well, the 2nd of January is the next time we meet.
The 2nd of January is the next time that we will meet live for the Berean Manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to join us, like I said, we meet on Sunday nights at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And you can get on there and be a part of the conversation if you'd like. If not, that's fine. Also, this podcast comes out on Wednesday nights anywhere that you get your podcasts. I think I try as hard as I can to make sure we're syndicated, but man, new services pop up all the time. And so I have about 99% confidence that if you get your podcast there, you can get the Berean Manifesto there too. So every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. is when this comes out. Also, we have a ministry that we do that's called Gaming with the Pastors, and that's me and Pastor Nooms playing through some games that Pastor Nooms loves, and we're on his Twitch channel, and we'd like you to come just hang out with us. That's where we hang out. We don't necessarily talk about religious things or Christianity. We mainly talk about the gamer plan or funny things that we heard that week or, you know, whatever comes up. That's what we talk about. So yeah, so come join us at any random time that we end up being live on Twitch. The way you'll know that we're live on Twitch is if you go to twitch.tv and you look up, is it Pastor Nooms now or Master Nooms
It's
still?
Pastor Names.
Look up Pastor Nooms on Twitch and follow his Twitch account. And that way you'll get a notification when we go live for Gaming with the Pastors. Biggs, you said that your birthday is the 3rd of January. Is that true? Is his birthday the 3rd of January?
Yep.
Yeah.
And he'll be, let me get a calculator out.
112?
Let me get a calculator.
Yeah, 112.
437 according to my calculator.
Nice.
I almost typed in that it was 2025. Let's just throw that out there. Oh. He is 58 this year. He is old.
Nice. This is the hottest Christmas on record for North Central Texas.
Oof.
So I just thought I'd let you know that. I've got the AC and all of my fans on in my bedroom because I'm starting to sweat now.
It was 70 today. And at the birthday party we were at, there was a person from Chicago, and they said they have not had a single snow yet this year.
Chicago hasn't had any snow yet. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's almost January.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and cut this off. It's been a good evening. I think we got our point across with the...
And I am not asleep, Biggs. I am
Big said he fell
relaxed
asleep.
and not moving much.
He's extremely relaxed.
I am extremely
relaxed.
I
love you guys. I hope you have a great week.
Be safe out there, everyone.
And until next time. And now you can mock me about the 30-second buffer.
Now we have to do the thing for certain of our streaming platforms and the ones of us that are live. We do this little thing called the 30-second buffer. And then we're going to say...
30-second buffer.
30-second buffer. 30-second buffer.
Has it been 30 seconds yet?
No.
No.
That's not how time works.
30-second
buffer. 30-second buffer. 30-second buffer.
All right, you can turn it off now.
All right. Love you guys. Be safe out there.
Love you guys. Bye.